We're all really excited to be up here. I'm joined with three great people representing three great brands. We had a great kickoff call. There's some synergies amongst two of the three, and I told Dave we're going to have some fun with his brand today. But again, Jack Greenspon, Volta Media. If you're not familiar with us, we are an EV charging network powered by media. We have 7,000 digital screens across the US, and I'm going to kick it off down the line for the introductions. Dave?
Oh, I'm first. My name is Dave Dreyer. I'm the co-founder and CMO of Starco Brands. We are well, thank you, Jamie. We are a CPG holding company. We have 5 brands in the portfolio. We have Soylent, which plays in the meal replacement nutrition space. We have Art of Sport, which plays in personal care and nutrition. We have Skylar, which is clean fragrance. We have a little brand, Winona, in the seasoning space. But we're going to talk about the one that some people know. It's called Whip Shots, which is an alcoholic whipped cream co-founded by Cardi B. So it's the most fun, which is why Jack's like, we have Sweetgreen, Health-Ade, and alcoholic whipped cream. One of these things is not like the other. But yeah, great to be here. Thanks.
And I'm Sandra Heidrich. I'm the Vice President of Marketing at Health-Ade. I lead all things brand marketing across Health-Ade Kombucha and our new prebiotic soda, Sunsip.
And I'm Nicole Kramer. I'm Director of Marketing at Sweetgreen. My team is super focused on expansion, new restaurant openings, and community building.
Perfect. So we'll kick it off, balancing growth with authenticity. How do you balance the need to expand your respective brands by staying true to your core?
I think this one's for me. So first of all, alcoholic whipped cream, for those of you who haven't tried it, it's the best thing you never knew you needed. And so we launched about 2.5 years ago. Like I said, Cardi isn't an influencer and ambassador. She is a co-founder in the brand. And so when we first launched, we really hit the nightclub crowd. And we did really well. 2 years, we sold 5 million cans. We're nationwide. 10 billion earned media impressions, TikTok views, all the things. But now we need to go from nightclub to book club. And that's really where the audience is. You're not going to see book club moms in our advertising. But we definitely know where, the more we get into the Krogers of the world and the Albertsons and Vons and so forth and so on, we really need to hit that demographic. And quite frankly, the product is so good, it appeals to that group. So what we have to do is take that kind of core to more approach, keep that Cardi essence, it's a party in a can, and keep that through line and really hit that demo. And so what we've done is and we'll talk about it a little bit more, we've done that through partnerships, a lot of PR, reaching that demographic, but again, keeping that party essence, that celebratory nature wherever we go.
And not to say kombucha couldn't be a party drink as well. But
no one's saying that at all.
Sandra takes a similar but different approach to this exact question.
Yeah, I think celebrity is a really interesting one, and just figuring out as a brand that already exists, like who do you invite in to be sort of the face of your brand? And we started a partnership with Ryan Seacrest last year. Not someone who we expected to be in maybe 2 years ago, but when we were looking at how do we usher in the next phase of growth for our brand that really started, honestly, kombucha as more of like a niche, the vegans and like Erewhon shoppers of the world are familiar with it, but maybe not your American Idol watcher. Like we were thinking about how do we break through and invite in that next, circle of consumers. It was really about aligning ourselves with entities that will reach an audience that we haven't reached and that even, our competition isn't talking to. And something that we pride ourselves on at Health-Ade is that we try not to sit on this pedestal, looking down at consumers being like, we have the health halo and, you'll reach enlightenment if you drink this beverage. It's really like everybody has a gut. You want it to be healthy. Gut health is for all. And it did take some internal convincing, even of the team, that, Ryan would be the right fit. And, on our social media team at the time, it was like, oh, are we going to lose followers if we talk about Ryan Seacrest? And we did when we first, started posting with Ryan. But then that came back, and we've really, we've not only outgrown what we had then, but I think it's a really important part of the mix that we have now, where we've been growing double digits in sales, and we've gained a full point of household distribution in the last year, which is no small feat. And I think his authentic love of the product is really what brought that to life. So I think sometimes it can be, upon you to kind of think outside of your box and think outside of how you even define yourself to show up to a new audience.
And just to add on that, I think what's really important that Sweetgreen values is we look to Twitter, we look to Instagram, we look to folks who are fans of the brand naturally. And to Sandra's point, that's how we've actually discovered a lot of the talent. We worked with Renee Rapp last year. She's an avid Sweetgreen fan. She helped us launch some of our loyalty programs. So looking to who your fans are, be them top tier celebrities or be it a little bit more on the influencer space, all of that is super important to just harnessing your brand.
Which is all great, and adapting to new audiences is, I'm going to keep your mic warm, Nicole. Sweetgreen, opening new restaurants, how do you guys go about this? It's years in the making, marketing. I'll let you kind of go through that process.
Yeah, so I would say in my world specifically, I'll speak in the vein of where expansion is super important. So going into regional pockets of the country, not just the coasts. A lot of my team's work is thinking, how do we connect locally? That last mile of the customer is the marketing that a lot of my team does. So the emphasis on insights is super important as we think about expansion. You can have your macro insights for your brand. Who is your customer? What are those psychographics? But as you get into the pockets of the country where you're expanding, especially in the retail space, who is showing up in your communities? And that's a big differentiator for us as we think about intimacy at scale. We are super focused on connecting with that customer on the ground in a hyper-local way, and a lot of our marketing dollars are thinking with that customer in mind. We're lucky at Sweetgreen in that we have a lot of brand stories to tell, be it sustainability, be it art. We're big into working with local artists in our stores. We're super focused on a culinary angle, of course. So as you think about showing up locally, what is that angle that really resonates with that audience? You're not necessarily straying from your brand by doing that, but you're keeping true to your core in just deciding which message that you want to make a little bit louder. And then lastly, I'll just say, as you think about how that shows up, you can customize elements as you think about expansion or reaching new audiences. For us, what we do to launch Texas is super different than what we do to launch Atlanta. We've partnered with chefs in Texas as we think about culinary being an important aspect to aspects of Houston. As we think about Atlanta, we did a super fun partnership with Tiana Taylor a year back just to really help us launch a new category. So as you think about different nuances across the country, that's super important. And then if you have fans of the brand, which we do all over the country, we love to bring those people along. So folks that have raised their hand to say, hey, come to this area near me. We like to let them know first. We like to give them exclusive access. We like to bring them along. So keeping that balance is super important for us as we grow and scale.
I've loved how many parents have said, my kids love Sweetgreen. I love picking it up on the way home. Dave said that. I grew up on Burger King, so I don't know. I'm jealous of the kids just of today. But maintaining brand consistency across channels as you try to scale and need hyper growth. How do you keep the message consistent when you're trying to onboard new customers, new users? Sandra, I'll let you kick it off.
Sure. So for us, I already mentioned we've experienced a ton of growth, Ryan being a part of that. We also started a partnership with the LA Dodgers 2 years ago. And, kombucha is not something that maybe some people expect to see in, Major League Baseball. But as we were thinking about how do we introduce our brand in a sports context, and we really look at our sports partnership as more, borrowing equity from a really powerful lifestyle brand, not that we're trying to position ourselves as a sports beverage by any means. We think about what are the iconic assets and the things that we always communicate in all of our, marketing levers that we activate. And really at the core of it, I don't think that should be that different from when we're talking to, your vegan granola mom to like a Dodgers fan that is hearing the word kombucha for the first time at a game. We're talking about what are the benefits and that it tastes good, because a lot of people are a little bit hesitant to try a beverage with as weird of a name as kombucha. So those are the two things that we're always communicating no matter where we show up. And then just how we communicate that just differs slightly to the audience, but it shouldn't be so unrecognizable that if our, core consumer attends a Dodgers game, as so much of the LA, population does, that they'd be like, why is Health-Ade saying this? This doesn't feel like my brand. It should still be consistent. So with the Dodgers, we did this whole like home run for your gut campaign. We did assets within the stadium that showed our product in food pairings with a Dodger dog, with like a nacho helmet, and really driving those taste cues and making it feel more approachable. Like, oh, maybe kombucha is for me. Maybe it's something I want to try, as a non-alcoholic option in the stadium. And so I think as a result of that, we really successfully introduced a whole new audience to our product. And we actually grew our LA Hispanic buyer base by 44% in the year of our partnership, which is incredible. And then from one year to the next, as we optimized those assets and brought in those food pairings, we more than doubled our product sales within the stadium as well. So I think it's really important to just keep in mind, how does your core message translate to different audiences? And since then, we've even created like Spanish language, landing pages and things like that to really meet those consumers as we saw the search traffic increase in Spanish. So I think if you can stay true to your key messages, but just make sure they're relevant in the context that people are seeing them.
It's funny, my wife is vegan granola, huge Dodger fan, and she's Hispanic. So anytime you want to do research, she kind of is like the intersection of all the Venn diagrams there.
We're going to bring her into the office and study her.
Just sit her right down. Does this work?
That's amazing. I guess, Dave, the book club, nightclub, we gotta touch on that again.
Yeah.
When are we gonna start pushing the audience to the book club moms? Are we ready there? Are we not?
Oh, we're ready, buddy.
Okay.
We're ready. I think a big strategy for us are partnerships, honestly. For us, partnerships serve two purposes. One, okay, alcoholic whipped cream, what the hell do I do with it? And so our partnerships serve as education. So really brick to forehead. So we partner with other alcohol brands because we're a topper. We go on cocktails, desserts, coffees, so forth and so on. So we'll partner with coffee brands. We'll partner with other cocktail brands and such. And sometimes they play in the nightclub space, but we're kind of gearing now to go to that book club space. So we've actually already started. Last Thanksgiving, so last holiday, we partnered with Patti LaBelle. And when you're a startup, it's funny. My background is ad agency and work for some big brands and such. And so, you have big teams and everything. And now you're in a startup, you just call up Patty's Pies. It's like, hey, you guys want to partner? And they're like, yeah. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. What do you want to do? I don't know. We'll figure it out. And then you go on Peerspace and you rent a house, and all of a sudden you're in a house with Cardi B and Patti LaBelle with a camera, and you're like, all right, let's go. Let's do this. And we shot a whole social series. And so it was She Has Pies, we have whip shots on pies, and we had a whole series and had People magazine out there to cover it, and then just ended up with 2 billion earned media impressions there. So that helped get Book Club Mom. We launched a strawberry flavor, so we did a partnership with the Museum of Ice Cream because, Whip Shots goes on ice cream. So we launched that in New York in January of this year. We just did a program with DoorDash last month. We launched our pumpkin flavor. Shout out for a pumpkin spiked latte. And so we had DoorDash. They did a promo where if you bought Whip Shots on DoorDash, you got a free coffee, so you can make your own pumpkin spike latte at home. And then we have a big partnership, and I asked if I could announce it here, and they said no. So not for brand innovators, the partner. But really what we look for is we look for symbiotic relationships. I know that Cardi is currency. We have somebody with 300 million, a social footprint of over 300 million. The media loves her, and being an owner of the brand, she wants it to see it succeed. So calling up brands that reach Book Club Mom, asking if they want, hey, do you want to partner with Cardi? And they're like, yes, please. So anybody out there who wants to partner with Cardi? And it makes sense. And it works, and it works. So that's how we're really going in there. But to your earlier point, our brand shows up the same throughout. And honestly, we're just having fun. We're just having fun.
Yeah, that's great. Nicole with Sweetgreen, out of home campaign was big 6 months ago, I believe, a year ago, all over LA. Athletes, influencers, anything to add on to that point?
Yeah, I kind of mirrors what I had initially said is finding those true fans of your brand. It makes the partnership so much easier. And I speak from a space of being at a brand that has a lot of brand love across the country, and athletes are low-hanging fruit for salad. It's what fuels them, and transparently, it wasn't even an option to us as we thought about just leaning into chefs at the beginning of the brand's inception. It was a lot of culinary collabs. Nancy Silverton, if we have some OG Sweetgreens fans in the audience, that was a big one for LA. We've worked with David Chang. We've worked with a bunch of regional chefs as well, but athletes started to come on our radar, and we're like, yeah, why aren't we doing that? We work at farmers markets. We're dipping our toe into NIL deals, all things that seem pretty obvious. And so continuing to own that space and making that something feel that's truly ownable to what you do and unique is a great way to start. And then you can start to dip your toe into other areas that feel a little not as aligned to the brand, but feel fun. You test and learn. You might not do everything the best, but it's fun to connect with culture in ways that are not just also obvious.
Absolutely. Sandra, innovation versus tradition, Sunsips, is that geared more towards someone who said, kombucha, maybe not for me, Sunsip, maybe a little easier, maybe a little better entryway into the vegan granola space?
The gateway drug to gut health.
I didn't say it, but
No, I mean, we do find that it's somewhat the same shopper, but it's different occasions, and it is a little bit more approachable for people who might not be ready for, the full kombucha experience, because it does taste like a soda, a better for you soda. And that's why, the Ollipops and the Poppies of the world are blowing up, is because people are seeing a better for me option that, doesn't have all the sugar and all the things that maybe you're trying to avoid. So I think that it's not only different in terms of the types of messaging that we try to use and the types of consumers that we're trying to reach, because of course we're not trying to cannibalize our own brand to launch this new brand, but we're also seeing that the consumer base there is really a little bit younger, a little bit more Gen Z leaning, and so we're using some different type of integrations. Like, we're about to be on this dating show called Nectar House. I only found out about this because of this integration. It's on YouTube. I don't watch YouTube that way, but as you were just talking about, Gen Z's really just highly digital and is up to all of these things that you can reach them in ways that is very different from these older generations and older consumers. So on Sunsip, we're trying a lot of new things to reach a slightly different audience from kombucha.
Perfect. That wraps up my moderating portion. I think we can open up to questions for the last couple of minutes we have.
Hi, Felicia Enuha, ex-food and beverage CPG, looking to pivot into entertainment. I'm curious, though, each of your brands lends itself very well to community building. So strategically, how are you guys approaching that? You talked a lot about partnerships and influencers, but how are you working to grassroots build consumers to drive, especially to drive trial and repeat?
I can take this one. This is definitely our bread and butter. A lot of that has to do with, as I mentioned, fans of the brand. We like to identify those when we go into new markets, new pockets of the country immediately and reward them. But as we're looking for new consumers, we're not afraid to work with the moms group. We're not afraid to sponsor the 5, 10K. We're not necessarily sitting, from the corporate headquarters in LA saying we are only running media, we're only running out of home. We really get into the weeds. My team is 10 people strong across the country, really just doing research in those pockets of the country to figure out how we can connect to consumers on an everyday basis. The founders of Sweetgreen built the brand through community marketing. They opened their doors. One of the founders was DJing to get people in the door. So they truly believe in this power of community and harnessing that. And so I feel lucky to work for a brand that invests in that. Not every brand does. And so if you're able to prove that value, it is one of the harder things to prove from an ROI standpoint. I am the first to admit it. I lead a team that's constantly trying to prove our worth, but some of it is a feeling, and you'll see that on social. You'll see it when you talk to customers in store, that they heard of you from when you were sampling at an event in their community. And so a lot of that is especially important with food and beverage, to just find those pockets of the community where you can connect.
Yeah, I think, look, speaking from a whip shot standpoint, it's primarily social, right? And anytime we launch a new flavor or something, people are like right on it. Or if they see it, like we put a display on social, like, hey, we're in this store. It's like everybody go, that, which is great. But we have two other brands in the portfolio, both Soylent and Skylar, who have, Soylent in particular, I don't know if everybody knows the story of Soylent, but I've never seen a fan base like this. The brand was founded 11 years ago, and we have people who are on a subscription plan dating back 11 years. Our average lifespan from a subscription is 3.2 years, and that's like a monthly shipment. And when you go on Reddit and you type in Soylent, I have never seen a more rabid fan base. So as long as you're continuing to foster that community, and what I would say is find your platform, find your area. It could be in real world community or in social, but not just social. Which platform is right for you, right? What's right for Soylent is not right for Skylar and is not right for whip shots. And so I think sometimes we like to just social or spread, spots and dots or check the box, but really find where you excel and then form that community there. And don't force it. It's gonna, it'll happen.
Hi, my name is Susan, and I work at Mattel. We work on different doll brands like Polly Pocket, Monster High, Barbie, etc. I actually have a question for Sandra, because you had mentioned your Ryan Seacrest collab and the fact that you lost followers, but then it grew and worked out for you all. And would love to hear more about, what did you guys do when you lost followers? And how, I would imagine panic at the company, and how did you manage that? And were there any steps you took as you kind of fixed that, moved forward, and, made it something really positive for you?
I mean, honestly, it wasn't that big of a deal internally outside of our social team, because we were looking at the bigger picture. It's like at the same time that our maybe own channel audience was expecting us to post like the next mocktail recipe or like a collab with the CMOS girlies or whatever. And then they saw, oh, here's Ryan Seacrest doing the iHeart Festival and we're there, and like, that's not what I signed up for, unfollow, or they just don't like him for what reason. On the other side of it, we were getting like massive exposure and just massive amounts of impressions and inviting a whole new audience. And it really, like, if you looked at our followers, it's like a little dip and then it's just up, right? And we're not a D2C business. Like, we do have an e-commerce platform, but, selling refrigerated glass beverages online is not a business model I would recommend to anybody. So, for us, it's really more about driving people into store. And that's where we've just been seeing massive growth in the mass channel, massive growth at Aldi. Like, we're just growing across the board in a way that we haven't seen before. And, we also have other factors playing into that. But I think that we really saw, like, we have to not be so precious about, like, our, the cool content we're trying to post online. It's like there is a purpose for all of these different things. And just being open to inviting a new audience in, because at the end of the day, like, if you love our product, then we're for you. Like, it's not for us to determine like who we're for, right? So I think that's where, like, we just had to, get real with our expectations and, understand that not everybody is going to love every single thing that we do as we look for that next level of growth.
Hi, my name is Katie Warshaw. I'm also from Mattel on the Hot Wheels team. My question is for Sandra or Nicole. It's about competitors, although there might be another alcoholic whipped cream brand as well.
No, we're the only ones.
Feel free to jump in. But you're both in very competitive categories. So my question is, how do you break through the noise and reach consumers, specifically with the message of we have the superior product?
I can get it started. I think on our side, if you look at just kombucha, the category has been flat. We're the only ones growing, and we're growing a ton. And I think we really can attribute that to the fact that about a year and a half ago, we started playing like a big brand. Like, we are not going by the rules of what the other guys, to be left unnamed, are doing, that is a little bit more about like wellness and all of this stuff. We're like, no, like, if we want people to look at a gut healthy beverage like they look at the soda that they might drink every day, we gotta be acting a little bit like those guys to get to that place. So that's where we started engaging with sports partnerships, really playing bigger in entertainment with iHeart, getting with Ryan, upping our media spend, and really getting out there more. And I think that's what, if you set yourself apart by reaching new consumers and trying new things, we don't have to talk about how we're better than the competition, because it's also within the functional beverage space, there isn't that much differentiation. Like, I could talk about, oh, we're organic and they're not, and all these things, but it's like, at the end of the day, I think consumers have a feeling about the brand that they want to choose when they come to the shelf, and I think that's what we're trying to generate.
I'll say this is super hard. We deal with this a lot, we like to say, and this is speaking from truth. In 2007, when we were founded, we were basically the only salad company that was doing what we were doing. A lot of our equity has been built on establishing a brand, not just the product. The product is why people come back. You obviously need to have a good experience within the store. You need to enjoy the food. It needs to be craveable. But a lot of what we feel like where we're differentiating is keeping our brand sharp and allowing us to work with, the Renee Rapps, the Tiana Taylors of the world, where maybe our competitors aren't, allowing our brand book to evolve. So even as we think about the Viz idea of the brand, continuing to keep that sharp and keep that relevant to where we want to go, and not just looking at what our competitors are doing, but trying to be a trailblazer in that regard.
I think with that, I'm going to thank my speakers, thank Brand Innovators, and Netflix. This theater is amazing. We'll see you guys all at the networking break.